And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hello, I'm National Weather Service meteorologist Peter Chan, and this is your Alaska Aviation Weather Outlook on this Saturday, October 25th, 2025. And to set things up for the rest of this weekend, early next week, there's an area of low pressure here along the Kamchatka coast that's just going to kind of wobble, maybe pull, and just stay outside the Gulf of Anadyr. But overall, this energy is going to gradually shift southeastward down toward the eastern Aleutians, lower Alaska Peninsula. It's going to combine with some other low-pressure energy and moisture coming up along the North Pacific Aleutian chain and then up into the Gulf. And if that's not enough, there's going to be a pretty potent little compact low come up out of the North Pacific up toward the Panhandle by Tuesday of next week. So what's eventually going to happen is this circulation out here of low pressure in the Bering is going to link up with other energy coming up from the North Pacific and then into the Gulf. And we're going to see more active weather along the Gulf Coast, especially the Panhandle here in the week ahead. Every other day or so, there's going to be some low pressure wave with gusty winds and moderate to heavier precipitation moving in the Gulf for next week, especially as we get toward Halloween. So keep that in mind. Meanwhile, the interior is just going to continue to gradually cool down to seasonably cold temperatures, along with some intervals of light snow, especially in and around the mountains. But to start Sunday morning, IFR conditions expected along the Alcan border from around Arctic Village down through Eagle, Northway, the 40-mile Gold Country, higher terrain around Fairbanks, as well as from Utqiagvik, western North Slope, south slopes of the Brooks Range, maybe around Ambler and Bettles, and also pocket of IFR conditions due to some lower cloud cover and snow showers there along the lower Yukon coastline. Could be an isolated flash of lightning, rumble of thunder along the outer Panhandle coast Sunday morning, and again on Sunday afternoon, extending back outside there of Yakutat Bay. Otherwise, MVFR conditions pretty prevalent along areas of the eastern interior, in the north, and in the southwest, including the lower Yukon Basin and the Kuskokwim. For Monday morning, we could find still an isolated flash of lightning, rumble of thunder here along the northeastern and outer Gulf Coast of the Panhandle. Areas of MVFR pretty prevalent across areas of the interior, and then out here southeast of the eastern Aleutians, there could be isolated thunder, as well as toward the central Bering for Monday afternoon. Still the potential for an isolated flash of lightning, rumble of thunder along the outer Panhandle eastern Gulf area. And then southeast of the Alaska Peninsula and east of the eastern Aleutians for Monday afternoon. Still some MVFR conditions lingering upper Yukon, Yukon Flats, central eastern Alaska Range, parts of the Tanana Valley along the Alcan border. So passes on Sunday, Anaktuvik Pass, cold temperatures down in the single digits. MVFR conditions there at Anaktuvik and Adigan Pass should generally be the rule. Sunday, Lake Clark and Merrill, actually some VFR conditions during the day on Sunday, as will Rainy Pass. As we get up to Windy Pass, there could be MVFR conditions as we go through the later morning, afternoon, and Isabel Pass will generally hold on to MVFR conditions Sunday with some IFR conditions there as you pop out along the north entrance. Mentasta Pass, IFR early becoming MVFR. And for Tanita Pass, VFR conditions on a Sunday morning giving way to MVFR conditions. Portage Pass also VFR conditions early in the day, Sunday becoming MVFR. And finally, the north end of the Panhandle at Chilkoot and White, we're looking at MVFR conditions throughout the day Sunday. So one thing I wanted to point out, the freezing levels at the surface and aloft have really come down across the state. We have no strong weather systems pulling warm, moist air northward. So because of that, we've just been seeing this overall cool down across the mainland. The surface freezing line does come up to about Savunga, up to St. Lawrence Island, and then drops down along the YK deltas, Bristol Bay, and then up into areas of south central and back in through especially the inner coastal mountains of the Panhandle. But otherwise, we find the freezing level aloft at 2,000 feet out over the Gulf, and then well south of the Alaska Peninsula and the Aleutians down in the North Pacific. Now, where there is some precipitation, lower cloudiness, lighter snow along the Beaufort Sea coast above 2,000 feet. There could be some moderate icing. That would be the area of greatest concern. A pocket perhaps down here along the Alcan border near the 40-mile Gold Country, maybe around Eagle or so between there and North Way, above 3,000 feet, and then isolated any lingering showers, thicker clouds on Sunday along the northern Gulf Coast above 5,000 feet. And then an area out here back toward the lower half of the Bering and Aleutians, there's kind of pockets of some isolated moderate icing above 4,000 feet. So the jet stream pattern, nothing of note over the mainland, pretty quiet winds at 30,000 feet. But behind me, we do have a stronger jet core, jet streak of 150 knots to the west-southwest of the Aleutians. That's generally moving toward the south-southeast at 700 millibars or 9,000 feet, still relatively quiet winds over much of the mainland into the Panhandle. We find most of the disturbance, mid-level winds around this general low circulation that's out over the Bering. We do have more of a easterly flow out there toward just St. Lawrence Island south of the Bering Strait, but a broad belt of northwest to west winds, 35 to 50 knots along the central western Aleutians. And we bring that down to 3,000 feet. And there are some stronger winds out over eastern Russia, south and southwest of the Bering Strait, and just to the northwest of St. Lawrence Island, 35 to 55 knot easterly winds. But those winds curl around to around 30, 35 knots, especially intruding into the central eastern Aleutians and the tip of the Alaska Peninsula. So the threat of turbulence on Sunday will be confined to areas of the west, perhaps around Nome. There could be some moderate turbulence along the coast there, as well as including St. Lawrence Island, surface to 3,000 feet. And then Sunday, trailing out the Aleutians, we do find the likelihood of some moderate turbulence, surface to 3,000 feet on Sunday.